Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz. I am your host, Michael Kravetz, and I'm back after a 1-week layoff, wrapping up. Had a lot of busy work at school. This is my finals week, so was able to take the time to record this episode on a Sunday, and comes off the heels of a bad loss by the Steelers. But guess we're going to do this, go by last week, what I missed. A huge emotional game for the Steelers against the Ravens. They needed to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. Charlie Batch, probably his last hurrah with Ben being ready for the San Diego game. And my gosh, he pulled through. Batch was able to lead some key drives. Heath Miller was huge in the game. Troy Polamalu returned. Steelers end up winning the game on a last-second field goal by Sean Sweezum, 23-20. Another 3-point game with the Ravens. This game had a lot of good stuff in it. The defense played big. There was a huge play by James Harrison, a big strip sack, kind of reminiscent of the Polamalu one 3 years ago. It was just really huge. The defense played probably their best game of the year. And leading up to the game, Mike Wallace was demoted. Mendenhall was demoted. He wasn't even dressed for the game. That was huge by Tomlin because I thought this fired the team up. Their offense played well. Defense played well. It was just an all-around good game, and there was no special teams let up on Jacoby Jones. So, all in all, it was a great game. Steelers got the emotional win. They were now 2 games back of the Ravens, and they still were tied with Cincinnati, but they've beaten them, so they held the 6th and final playoff spot. So, let's fast forward to today against the San Diego Chargers, who were 0-14 in the regular season against the Steelers. They were 4-8. Their season's pretty much over. It was announced earlier in the week that North Turner and GM AJ Floyd would not be back. Their GM would not be back. Well, San Diego comes out. First quarter, it's pretty sloppy by both teams. Pretty much punts back and forth, but San Diego had better field position. They were able to have a field goal. It was 3-0. Then in the second quarter, big drop pass by Wallace that would have switched the momentum of the game. It was just a matter of time before San Diego, with the good field position and the Steelers' horrible starting field position, that they would cash in. They end up doing, makes it 10-0, and then they lead it 13-0 by another field goal by Novak. But the Steelers were able to mount a somewhat positive drive right before half. They got a field goal, 49-yard field goal by Sean Sweezum, made it 13-3 at halftime. They needed to make an adjustment for the second half if they wanted to have any chance. Turns out the defense did not play well at all. San Diego got the ball first in the third quarter. They drove down the field, took almost 10 minutes off the clock, got a touchdown. Then the next play for the Steelers on the next drive, it was a screen pass, but it hit off David Paulson, and it was rolled a backwards pass. And San Diego got it in the end zone because Brown failed to recover it. That was a touchdown. They reviewed it, still called it a touchdown. So that put the game out of hand pretty much. It was 27-3. Steelers had some slim of hope, though, because the next possession, a huge deep touchdown pass to Wallace, made it 27-10. At this point, I questioned not going for 2, because if they went for 2, they would have been down by 16. 2 touchdowns plus 2 two-point conversions. But no. Next possession, San Diego gets it. Have them stopped. 4th and 2. They decide to go for the fake punt run. They get it. That was killer. Then San Diego still, though, punted, and it was still 27-10. But then Ben Roethlisberger threw an interception. San Diego capitalized on that, scored a touchdown, and then Steelers added 2 garbage scores. Made it 34-24 the final. This was one of the worst performances by the Steelers offense in a long time. The defense played well enough in the first half, but then they just fizzled it out in the second half. You can't really blame them. The only thing I put on the defense for the blame is that they didn't get enough pressure on Rivers. He was only sacked once or twice. No turnovers. You don't get turnovers. It don't matter if your defense is number 1 in passing yards against. Doesn't matter. You don't get turnovers, you're not going to find ways to win the games with your defense, and it just didn't happen. The only good news, though, that came out of this loss, the Dallas Cowboys converted a 49-yard field goal as time expired to beat the Bengals 20-19, and the Ravens lost in overtime to the Redskins. So the Steelers, nothing changed ground. Ravens are 9-4. Steelers are 7-6. Bengals are 7-6. And right now, since the Steelers beat the Bengals, they hold the tiebreaker. They're still the 6th playoff seed. Now, the chances of the Steelers winning the division, very unlikely, because the Ravens would have to lose their last 3 games. Probably not going to happen, even though they play good teams. Here's what needs to happen for the Steelers moving forward. They play Dallas on Sunday, in Dallas. Huge game. Dallas is still alive, so are the Steelers. Whoever loses that game probably will be they're going to be eliminated, I think, from the playoffs when it comes down to it. They'll still be mathematically alive, but whoever loses that game, they're not going to the playoffs. Then Steelers have home games against Cincinnati and Cleveland. Obviously, they need to win Cincinnati if they want to have any hope, and then beating Cleveland is a must. It's very possible the Steelers can win out. It's also possible they can win 2 or 3 and not make it in. Bottom line is, they shot themselves in the foot this whole year, losing to bad teams, losing to Tennessee, losing to Oakland, losing to Cleveland, and now losing at home to San Diego. It was just unacceptable. Their defense must play better. I know they played well in the first half, but they need to force turnovers. They got to pressure Romo. And the Cowboys' offensive line is by no stretch of means a good offensive line. They're maybe average. And the offense, they have to find a way to get things going. I know Ben was out for 3 weeks. It showed early on. They got to form a good game plan because the Dallas secondary, not that strong either. Their offensive line, though, has to shore up. Willie Colon left the game today in the third quarter. They got to get that fixed. And the receivers, they got to start holding on to the ball. They're going to try and go deep, I know, against Dallas. Wallace better hold on to some balls, and Brown too. And Burris has to be more involved. I think that's huge because so far he's been a waste, pretty much. So that's what it's going to be. It's a hectic final 3 games, to say the least, for the Steelers, but they need this to happen because, like I said, if they lose to Dallas, I really don't think there's going to be hope for them because then they're going to have to rely on other teams to lose. It's just that they need to win out. If they win out, they're in the playoffs. That's all that matters. So moving on from there, I'm going to talk a little bit about Pitt Basketball. They played 3 games. My mistake, 4 games since we last talked about them. They had a nice win over Howard, 70-46. Nice comeback victory against Detroit, 74-61. Huge game, a city game win over Duquesne, 66-45. And then a blowout over North Florida, 89-47. Steven Adams has to be the key. He had a huge game against Detroit, double-double, one shy of the double-double, 1 rebound shy, or 1 point shy. Big game against Howard. Wasn't really there for the Duquesne game, kind of there for the North Florida game. The big thing, though, for over these games, Talib Zana. He's been a force to be reckoned with. He's getting close to 20 points in these games. His rebounds are up there close to double digits. And the duo of James Robinson and Trayvon Woodall is extremely huge because it allows Woodall to get more open threes, and he's hitting threes. He's shooting over 40% from the three-point range. And James Robinson, he's one of the smartest freshmen I think I've seen in a long time play for Pitt. They essentially have 2 point guards in the backcourt, and that really helps. And I know people are going to say they've been playing these pansies. They're cupcake games. Most of them are, for the most part. But Detroit is a good team. I think they're going to end up being in the NCAA tournament. They have a great NBA prospect. Pitt shut them down. Their wins over Lehigh and Delaware, they're pretty good teams. People are going to say the only good team they lost to Michigan. They played them tough, though. Michigan has played a lot of good teams so far. Pitt played them the toughest. They only lost by 5. And Michigan's the Final Four team. So I think come tomorrow, Pitt will be in the top 25 because they're 26 in the one pool and 28 in the other. So just a matter of time before they start getting on a roll. The only problem I have, though, with this Pitt team, the first half, they seem to not be giving it their all. In the North Florida game yesterday, they were tied with 5 minutes to go before the halftime, 27-27. They were only up by 11 at halftime, then they outscored them by 40. In the Detroit game, they had to come back. They were down by as many as 12 in the game. So they just got to find a way to play solid in both halves. Because in the second half, they're dominant. Because once they play these good teams, they open up their Big East conference schedule. Home against Cincinnati. I'll be at the game. It's going to be huge. Cincinnati's undefeated right now. They're a top 20 team. You can't do that against these types of teams. Maybe the lower tier Big East teams, but not Cincinnati's, Syracuse's, Notre Dame's, Connecticut's. You can't do that against them. So I think that's going to be huge. But I expect this Pitt team to compete. Expect them to finish in the top half of the Big East. because I just think that their chemistry is going to be better, and Steven Adams is going to be huge in the Big East. 'Cause he's just got improved, though, over these next 3 games. I mean, they got Kennesaw State, Bethune-Cookman, and Delaware State. No powerhouses by any means. They just got to win these games by a large margin to provide some good momentum and confidence for them. Now I'm going to talk about some Pitt football. Their final regular season game was against South Florida, and they pretty much destroyed them. South Florida had over 5 turnovers in the game. Pitt had some good, nice offensive movement with Shanahan, Ray Graham. Sinceri played a smart, efficient game. Ended up winning the game easily, 27-3. So then on the last Sunday, to determine where their fate would be in a bowl game, a lot of people were hoping maybe the Pinstripe Bowl, West Virginia and Pittsburgh, backyard brawl game. Didn't turn out that way. Turns out the Pitt's going to their 3rd straight BBVA Compass Bowl to play Mississippi. So Mississippi, from a notable conference, the SEC, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't know much about Mississippi. I'll have to look some stuff up about them, but we'll be previewing that game within the few weeks here on the Sports Wrap. And there was also mention that Paul Chryst could leave because the Wisconsin job opening is available after Brett Bielema left the team to coach Arkansas. Chryst said, though, he's staying with Pitt. His team has been through so much turmoil with all these different coaches the past 3-4 years. He's going to stay, and I think he's definitely one to keep. He's going to get this team back to top 25 relevance, and they're going to be a team to be reckoned with in the ACC come the future. And finally, I'm going to touch up on the Pirates. The winter meetings recently occurred December 3rd through the 6th, and the Pirates made their signing a couple days before the winter meeting started, their first big signing. And that was catcher Russell Martin, a 2-year deal worth $17 million. A lot of people are saying, okay, he's definitely going to help with throwing runners out. Far a lot better than McHenry and Barajas combined. The problem is, though, that his batting average has dropped ever since 2007. He batted .211 last year, only a little bit better than Rob Barajas. But Russell Martin, on-base percentage was high. Power was there, 18 home runs. And he's catched with Burnett before, and McDonald. So I think that repertoire is going to help. He's been on winning teams consistently. I think he's going to be proved to be a leader. And McHenry's going to be a solid backup. And then also you got Martin. He's going to help out Sanchez, too, in spring training. I think this is going to be a great signing, and I think he's really going to help the team at the catcher position. Minor moves were made for the Pirates over the winter meetings. They acquired Andy Oliver. They traded catcher Ramon Cabrera for Andy Oliver, who has a chance to compete for a rotation spot. I don't really like the trade. I don't think he's going to amount to much. Maybe a bullpen guy, but I don't see him being a starter. They did not tender Jeff Karsten, so he is now a free agent. They did tender Hanrahan, Jones, Walker, McDonald. And they also traded Chris Resop to the Athletics for a minor leaguer. So they're going to need some bullpen help. And one of the big ongoing sequences that still has not been resolved yet, Jason Grilli. 3 teams he has decided that his decision will come down to, either the Pirates, the Blue Jays, or the Cubs. 2 days ago, he said he was close to signing with someone. Still no decision yet. It's reported that the Pirates offered him a 2-year deal, close to $7 million. And that's what kind of the other teams were in the same range. I think it's vital that they hold on to him. Because if they end up trading Hanrahan, Grilli's going to be your closer. There's a possibility they could keep both, because if no one wants to give up enough for Hanrahan, Pirates are going to keep him. Granted, they don't want to have their back end of their bullpen almost cost $14 million, but so be it. They can't trade Hanrahan for nothing. And there was a rebuffed trade during the winter meetings. The Pirates tried to trade Garrett Jones to the Mariners for their top pitching prospect, Taijuan Walker. That would have been a huge trade. And a lot of people were saying, if that would have happened, the Mariners would have got ripped off. But they didn't happen. I mean, I think Jones, you got to keep him too. I don't think his season last year was a fluke. He's still a power guy. You have 3 players in there who are possible to hit 30 home runs: Alvarez, McCutchen, and Jones. So you got to keep him. I'm not going to settle with Gabby Sanchez being the first baseman. But I still think the Pirates are going to still try and make some moves. They want to get some more bullpen help, obviously. And they probably want to get some more bench help. So I expect them to still be busy going into December and January. And Pirate Fest is coming up next week. I wanted to try to go down there, but I won't be able to. It'll be interesting to see a lot of the fans' questions that they have for Hurdle and management. And I hope it's a good turnout, because fans still need to show up and support this team, try and snap that 20-game year losing streak. But that'll do it, though. Oh, and for the NHL negotiations, they were close. Ron Burkle, co-owner with the Penguins, and Mary Lemieux stepped in. They thought they were getting close to help this deal be settled so hockey would play, so the hockey season would start. Nothing happened. The deal fell short again a couple days ago. So who knows? It's looking like Crosby's wants to play in Europe, and I don't think there's going to be a season, which is going to be hugely disappointing. But that'll do it, though, for today's edition of the Sports Wrap. I touched up on things a little bit short today. This is my finals week. I didn't want to spend too much time going over stuff, but starting next week, I'll be back normal time. I'll be doing another Sunday show, I think. Getting my wisdom teeth out, so that might hanker me from not doing a show then. But I'll be sure to touch on everything. Steelers' huge game in Dallas, do or die for them. Pitt Basketball, going to have a game against Bethune-Cookman at the Pete. And any other news on the NHL situation, and if the Pirates make any signings or trades. But that'll do it for the Sports Wrap. I'm Michael Kravetz, and I'm signing off. Thanks for listening.